the good news is that in this last electoral cycle, this community woke up. And as has already been cited, it was Gaza that woke a lot of people up. Some of us have been beating this drum against American empire, against racialized violence at home and abroad for decades. Because Malcolm was not just my tutor in the Islamic tradition, he was my tutor in the Black radical tradition. Malcolm told us how to read what American empire is and what it does. How everything that it does abroad to slaughter and steal will eventually come back home. Malcolm said it. When John F. Kennedy was de-brained, he said, that's America's chickens coming home to roost, did he not? He said, you can't sow this kind of violence all throughout the world. And that's beyond being chumped. That's an abusive, violent, narcissistic, toxic relationship that is predicated on your dehumanization and destruction. No thoughtful person, no believing person, no disbelieving person should take that kind of behavior from their political authorities. Fortunately, we don't have to. We don't have to. What we demonstrated as a community is that Muslims have already opted out of this duopoly. Now it is our responsibility to step up into roles of political leadership to help usher this political community forward, uniquely positioned to play a role of ethical leadership in what comes next. Muslims are being presented with the same terrifying and tragic choice that American Jews were presented after the Second World War. What will we do after genocide? And the last thing that we need is a Muslim version of AIPAC. The last thing that we need is never again for my people, but a middle finger to yours. What we need is to have the values of justice, of love and respect for humanity, to be a beacon and a guiding light for a broader anti-imperialist who tells us that humanity is capable of better than this, that it is indeed our birthright, that God is generous and sends down water from the sky to give life to a dead land, and then exploiters section off that land, turn it into a plantation, put a whip on somebody's back, create artificial scarcity so that they can hoard and accumulate more, and it will never be enough for them because they have a sickness in their hearts. So God increased them in sickness. So will we stand? I'll finish with Malcolm because it'll be very soon time to break our fast. Lots of African Americans refuse to go out and vote with the Democratic Party, those traditional allegiances. Likewise in the Latin community, likewise for working class communities. They just saw that there isn't any there. There's nowhere to go. But as I said before, we're the only group that actually made this mass exodus, which has positioned us in a position of leadership, whether we like it or not. And for those that are decades-long or years-long Green Party veterans, they know that what happened in 2024 was different The crowds that were coming to these events are younger, they're people of color. These are communities that are engaged, activated, ready to go. It is our job now to build the organizational structure that will lead us to victory, that will lead us to freedom, that will allow us to cross time, not just to end the genocide, not just for a ceasefire, but to end the apartheid state itself, for a free Palestine from the river to the sea. But what's going to happen? You already see the energy dissipating in a poorly observed ceasefire, when you're just not seeing kids killed every night on your screen. Already the mobilization energy is diminished because it hasn't been channeled into organization against the system that produces the outcome. Likewise, just came from an event in Sacramento, California, organization against the deportation, illegal deportation and persecution of immigrant communities. We're going to see the same thing happen. We're going to continue to mobilize around these issues in silos, and until we organize for political power, they're going to keep slapping us around. So it is time for the Muslim campaign, between our pledges from well-placed donors in the Muslim community and the thousands of donations that have come in from people across the country. We've raised $140,000 so far. We're going to need 11 million by June of 2026 to be competitive. So that means everybody has to pitch in what they can. Because if I break that duopoly in California, they're finished. It's finished. California is the most populous state in the union. It is the wealthiest state in the union. Whatever happens in California will shake the earth. And all we have to do to win is to finish second in that primary in June of 2026. Because only the top two candidates advance, and we have as many independents in the state of California as we have registered Republicans. The Republicans aren't going to be in the race. If it's me and Kamala toe-to-toe down the stretch, they recruit you, they expect you to show up and vote for them, but you can't even get your phone calls returned. They slaughter Muslims with impunity over 16 months. Killing not just Muslims, but also Christians, Palestinian Christians as well. And Palestinian atheists, they're out there too. All of them. The few Jews that are still left in Palestine. Slaughtered like animals, and then muzzled like animals. Won't even be allowed to speak at the Democratic National Convention. Shame. So what happened in this community is that this community decided that it was tired of being chunked, that it had too much dignity and self-respect to continue. So the reality is that the Muslim American community has actually already made its exodus from the duopoly. The exit polling that came out of the 2024 presidential election indicated that nationwide, across the country, 53% of American Muslims voted for the Stein-Ware ticket. 20% voted for the Democrats, and 20% voted for the Republicans, and the remainder was split amongst supporters of Dr. Cornel West and Melina Abdullah, some for PSL, a handful of libertarians. But I just want to make this clear, because this is not getting covered in that corporate media, which wants to spin a particular kind of narrative, is that the Muslims have actually already made their choice. So we have this incredible opportunity now, as Muslims and as Greens, to